Hello, wonderful people of the internet, and welcome to my channel. Thank you all for joining me. Today, we're going to be discussing episode 4 of the Wheel of Time TV show, and my oh my, these episodes have just gotten better and better as they have gotten along. What I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to click through the episode and I'm react to certain bits that I enjoyed the most. And first of all, we got to start talking about Logain. The channeling is incredible. I wasn't a big fan of the white wisps representing the souls of the One Power, but once you actually see why they did it, and it's to express the taint in the male half of the One Power, very visceral way, I completely understand, and I'm suddenly completely okay with the One Power not being as colorful as described in the books. Alvaro Morte is just amazing so far as Logain. I love how you can see the differences in power dynamics because he doesn't need to do any type of body movement. He just is able to channel, and I think that is a really cool touch. I might be reading into it, but I think that is not just a showing of that he doesn't need to do the hand gestures, but it also shows his power level, because at the end we also get another character who also channels without using the hand gestures. So I am going to talk about that later on, but it's cool. I also loved how he actually spares the King of Gildan instead of going outright and killing him. I think this is a great choice because it starts to show Alvaro Morte's character, Logain, as someone who is just and someone who is not doing what he's doing just because of frivolous causes. He doesn't do it for glory or power, although he does start a war and does a lot of terrible things, but he's not doing them for the wrong reasons. He actually believes himself to be the Dragon Reborn. And then we probably get the scene that I really enjoyed the most, which is when we see the voices that are talking to Logain. I think they mentioned a character that is new. I'm not entirely sure, but I love the visual representation of it, specifically because it gives the audience this clear vision that something is influencing this character. And then what I loved the most was when you start thinking that he's going to actually go through what these voices are telling him, he actually just goes like, nope, I don't care what you're saying, I'm gonna do my thing, I'm Logain. So incredible start to Logain's character arc. Now, the next thing that I am really a fan of is everything that has to do with the Aes Sedai. I actually loved this episode. Some people complained that it was a bit slow, but I, on the other hand, actually find it amazing that they slowed down the pace a bit as compared to the first episode. Everything was so quick and everything happened so quickly that you barely get any exposition of what the world is. And I get that exposition is not something that we like as an audience, but I think in a fantasy world as deep as the Wheel of Time, it is, a necessity to have some exposition. And I think the scenes with the Aes Sedai here managed to do the exposition pretty well. Some scenes were a bit clunkier than others, but overall I think it served its purpose. I really liked Steppen's character. I like the scene where he is practicing with Lan. They showed the warders off to be really cool in this episode, and I appreciated that because the warders are generally really cool characters in my opinion, especially Lan, of course. And I loved to see them be done justice in this episode. You also get to see the different dynamics between different Ajas and their warders, which is also cool, specifically Alana and her two warders, which is great because I constantly had to be explaining to my dad. We watched this episode together. I was explaining the interactions that these Ajas had with their warders because he was a bit confused, but then the episode actually filled in the gaps and actually explained things that I had already explained and some that I hadn't explained. So I felt really cool. I felt like it was a really cool decision to do this. Now, I want to give some praise to probably my favorite storyline from this episode, and it might be a controversial one, but I actually enjoyed the Perrin and Egwene stuff the most. The previous episode, I thought the Perrin and Egwene stuff was the least interesting because they had them running away from wolves. That wasn't cool. But in this episode, we actually get character building and character exploration. We get some scenes that are definitely standouts. I'm skipping a bit ahead. The scene where Perrin is talking with the Tinker woman by the fire, that is a spectacular scene overall, and it has some great quotable moments. I also loved the stuff with Egwene and Aram. I love the interpretation of Aram in this show. It's a more modern interpretation, and I really enjoy it. I think it's a great addition to explore the Tuathon or the Tinkers in this version of the Wheel of Time because it contrasts so nicely with Perrin's violent act. And this is when we get into discussions about changes, I think this is one of the ones where we get like, okay, why did they make that change in episode 1? I mean, the Layla thing. Well, they clearly did it because they have this story planned out. So people get upset at the beginning of the series because of these changes, but I think episode 4 builds on that change beautifully, and especially that scene with Isla, which is the Tinker Woman, I think that scene is so powerful, and you couldn't have that scene without establishing such a tragic backstory for Perrin. So I am actually coming around and enjoying the change way more than I thought I would, because I thought that I would learn to deal with it. But overall, they're doing a great job, and I completely understand why they did choose to start Perrin's character arc the way they did. Now, jumping to Tom, Rand, and Matt's storyline, I actually really enjoy this one too, because I mean, this episode is such a good episode all around. It has that feel from the books where you switch from character to character, and everyone's doing something that's cool and memorable. In this episode, they stay at the Grinwells, and we see Matt being completely influenced by the dagger, which is great. Again, this episode is really different from the books, but this plotline is probably the one that sticks most closely to the books. I enjoyed that, of course, but I actually think this episode benefits a lot from creating new stuff, because I was completely shocked at points in this episode, and I think that is such a cool thing, because the show so far has managed to give us new stuff, but at the same time stay in the core of the elements of these characters, and I think it's such an amazing opportunity we book fans have to experience the books again in a different point of view. I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly, but I completely love it so far. I also, one of the scenes that this is my second favorite scene of the episode, was the scene between Matt and Helga, the little kid from the Grinwells. I got so emotional because of the Brigida mention. That just, God, it gave tears to my eyes, and my dad was sitting next to me, and he was like, "Is that something for the books? What is this?" And I thoroughly enjoyed that being in. Then we get, of course, the scene with a fade, and wow, that was a good scene. I would have liked it to be a bit longer, but I was so caught up with the fact that the fade actually moved in the shadows, which I thought was a cool detail that they were going to remove entirely from the series. But I was so pleased that the fade did move in the shadows. It was really good. But I would have liked that scene to be a bit more fleshed out, because it does feel a bit rushed, in the sense that Rand and Matt just like leave, and I got the feeling, I know this happens in the books too, but in the books you understand it. In the show, it just seems like they left, and it was like, oh, they're dicks. They just left Tom behind. I don't know if you got that same feeling, but of course I did. And then finally, the plotline, which everyone is completely screaming about because the end of it is the plotline with the Aes Sedai, Lan, Moraine, and of course my girl Nynaeve. Nynaeve, I've got to say, in the show, she's likable from day one. I don't know if other book readers had this experience, but I hated her in the first book. She is completely the best character in the show so far, and she's my second favorite character in the books as well. But she's just so good here in the show, and all the Nynaeve things, we start to see their relationship being built. It's such an amazing chemistry that I felt from the duo, which was pretty neat. And then of course all the stuff with Logain is awesome. Then his army arrives, and then he kind of escapes for a bit. He has a chat with Moraine, which of course is new. All of this is new. You know, these are things that we never saw in the books, but it makes so much sense because you establish a lot of world building with these scenes. First of all, you get the scene where Karine dies. Karine Nagashi dies, and then her warder goes insane, which is something that we need to know as an audience, because this will again happen later on in the books. And not getting into spoilers, but you know what I mean. These are things that are important to set up, and I thought the show established this plotline to first establish some of those things. For example, giving Logain more context, giving Logain more character, which is so good, because if we're going to see more Logain in the series, he needed to be gentled early on so his story makes sense going on in what we would be expanding here on the show. The action scene itself at the end I thought was great, but I still have some gripes with the way action is shot. I think I would enjoy action being less point of view driven, because the action here felt again like it was very Nynaeve centric, and since she's experiencing battle and she's very scared, and the camera also is very hectic and it shakes a lot, and I'm not a big fan of that style of shooting action. So I would appreciate it in later seasons if they changed the style of shooting action sequences. I would love that. Then we get the huge oh shit moment where Steppen goes Chris Pratt mode in Infinity War and just attacks the big powerful guy, and then it backfires completely on everyone. His axes are shattered and everyone seemingly is dead, until my girl Nynaeve shows off her true potential and she breaks through her block and channels. This is the first instance that we've gotten from Nynaeve being able to channel the show, and one of my friends was like, oh, so she's an Aes Sedai too? What? He knows who the Dragon Reborn is, but I also love this scene because it gives misdirection for people who are not book readers, and now book readers are going to be like, wait, who is it? Because this episode also establishes a great reasoning, because Tom gives Rand a nice backstory of his family member who was also able to channel, which is just happens in the books as well. And they set up Matt as potentially being able to channel too. But of course, eagle-eyed viewers know this is not the case. But some normal fans, I would like to see their perspective. Like, do they think that Matt would be a candidate for the Dragon Reborn? Because at the end of the episode, Nynaeve is kind of set up to be clearly the Dragon Reborn. If we're looking at it from like, I don't know anything from the series, it's kind of being set up that way. And Logain even has a great line, which kind of made me feel really bad for the guy, as he kind of recognizes that she is like very strong. I don't know if he's recognizing that she's a Taviran, because we know that Logain can recognize Taviranness. Is Taviranness a word? But yes, we know that Logain can do that, but is he recognizing that Nynaeve is a Taviran? Is Nynaeve a Taviran? Like, those are bigger questions that we as book readers might have now. But she's clearly not the Dragon Reborn. I'm seeing a lot of videos like, is Nynaeve the Dragon Reborn? She's clearly not the Dragon Reborn. So I'm completely enjoying this, however, because they are setting up all the characters as possible candidates, although we do know that it's not going to change. It's super fun to see, as book readers, other people and be like, oh, do you think she is Dragon Reborn? Do you think he is the Dragon Reborn? It's really cool for me to ask those questions to my friends who have not read the books. So yeah, overall, I'm loving each episode more. Episode 1 was great. Episode 2 was better. Episode 3 was even better in my opinion. And now episode 4 is my favorite, hands down. Like, it's not even close. It has character moments. It has action. It has a setup for future events. It's a completely balanced episode where we get all of our characters doing cool stuff. Their characters are built. There's no dull scenes. It feels like the books where everything is changing from one POV to the next, and there is just stuff going on all the time. It's not necessarily action, but I appreciate those intimate character moments where the pace slows down and we are able to immerse ourselves in the show. This is the first episode where I actually felt like I am in the world of the Wheel of Time. I'm not just watching the Wheel of Time, because the first couple of episodes were like so busy setting up these different aspects that I felt like I'm just watching the Wheel of Time. This was the first episode where I was like, I am in the Wheel of Time. But yeah, what did you think about this episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Leave a comment below, let me know. And also, before we leave, I wanted to remind you that the giveaway is going on right now. So leave a like, comment below. This is another entry for you if you want to win the TV show tie-in to the Eye of the World, which I made a mistake. I said book tie-in to the Eye of the World. What does that even mean in my last video? But yeah, if you made it to the end, as always, I love you so much. Excuse the poor audio. I know it's going to sound a bit iffy, but I'm just really excited and had to put this one out there. So I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.